Now, all morning, we've been asking you to get in touch with your questions and concerns around health and travel during the pandemic, and so many of you messaged in. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, it's the confusion of where to go and what to do and what risks you're taking. And to answer them, we're joined from London St Pancras by travel expert Simon Calder, who always has a solution, and Dr. Sarah Jarvis is in the studio, charged with keeping us all safe while we have a little bit of a break. Where should we start, Adam? What do you think?
Let's go with the first one. Jason on Facebook. A lot of people have sort of touched on this. Jason says, Simon, we are due to go on holiday in Spain next Thursday. Do you think the quarantine will be lifted by then? If it isn't, we won't be able to go. Where do we stand with getting a refund?
Right, Jason. OK, I don't think if you're going to mainland Spain, there's any chance of the quarantine being removed probably before the end of the month. There is huge pressure for the Balearics and the Canary Islands to be exempted from it. Of course, Mallorca, Menorca, Ibiza, Gran Canaria, Tenerife and so on. But that is by no means certain. The government's made it clear they like countries either to be regarded as low risk or high risk. Spain is now high risk, they say. And it's not the day you go, it's the day you come back that is relevant. However, you have to assume that you will have to quarantine for 2 weeks. If you do not want to do that, then your holiday company may allow you to cancel. The big two, TUI and Jet2, are allowing you to do that. But if, for example, you fixed your own trip with your own flights, the airline can turn around and say, well, your seat's going there. The fact that you don't want to go isn't our problem. Use it or lose it. It's a miserable position for hundreds of thousands of people to be in, I'm afraid, Jason.
OK, yeah, so they're just going to have to make a decision if they can quarantine when they get back. Paula echoes a lot of people who are deciding to travel by car, going perhaps further by car than they might have done to avoid flying. She says, we're travelling via France and Belgium by car to reach a holiday in Germany on the 21st of August. If, for instance, France becomes one of those that's quarantined, do we need to quarantine when we get home because we've passed through a country?
I think I can answer that.
OK.
It slightly depends on whether or not they're coming back via the same route. So if you come back into the UK from a country that's not exempt, so it's not in those safe countries, then you're going to have to quarantine for the number of days that make up 14 days from the last day you were there. So if you go through those countries on the way to Germany and you're there for 2 weeks,
even
you'll
if
be fine
you
on
keep
the
the
way back.
windows up and you don't stop?
Yep, even if you keep the windows up and you don't stop. If you're travelling through countries, very few people get through a whole country without a pit stop or two. So the theory is that you'll have to quarantine for 14 days less the time that you were out of that country. So if you went there and came back a week later, then you'll have to quarantine for a week.
OK. Here's one from Joan. Sorry, go on, Simon.
Oh, no, I just want to pick up on that. My understanding is very much that Belgium is on the must quarantine list. However, I spent an awful lot of time on Friday, after this was announced, talking this through with the Department for Transport, and they now tell me if you drive through a must quarantine country, nobody gets into the car, nobody gets out of the car, you just drive straight through. At the moment, you can do that through Belgium. France is not on the must quarantine list at the moment. That may change. So my advice would be, yes, have a look. The government website will tell you exactly what you need to do, but that's basically driving straight through. Don't stop for fuel, don't stop for coffee, don't stop for anything else.
OK.
Crikey.
Thank you, Simon. Here's one. This is regarding travel within the UK, actually. Someone confused by the government guidelines. Joan says, I live in Manchester. I guess it's one of those areas that's got a sort of partial lockdown, if you like. Can I travel to Carlisle for a 2-night break this weekend, staying in a hotel, but we plan to visit a friend's house for a few hours in the afternoon? Is this allowed, or is it not? Because it's 2 households from Manchester mixing. And what are the rules if you're in Manchester and want to go away, Sarah?
So if you're in Manchester, nobody can come to your house and you can't go to anybody else's house, but you could meet your friends in the park. Bizarrely, you can travel to Carlisle and stay in an hotel, although ideally you should try to stay away from other people while you're there, but you can't go to somebody's home, and they couldn't come and see you in Manchester either.
Right. But you could meet another family in a different city or town?
No, you can't meet them in another city or town because you've come from one of the areas that's locked down.
Oh, OK.
They can't
that
come into your
holiday is
area,
not
you
gonna
can't go
happen,
out.
is it?
Right.
Well, you could go and meet them in the park, and you can bizarrely have your 2-day break in Carlisle in an hotel and then meet your friends in the park for a few hours on the way back.
Simon, I think this one's for you. Louis says, I've given up on 2020, but I'd like to have something to look forward to for next year in the new year. Has there been any advice or suggestions about future travel restrictions come winter? Is there any advice about looking ahead?
Look, it's a really good question, and of course many of us want something to look forward to. It's been an absolutely dismal year so far, but I'm afraid we genuinely don't know what's going to be happening next week, let alone next year. Now, there's plenty of people in the travel industry who depend on people making forward bookings, and if you're prepared to do that, to commit, as long as there's a bit of flexibility built in, that's absolutely terrific. But I'm not going to say whether or not you'll be able to go, for example, to Australia, to the US, to Dubai, or even across the channel to France then. We simply do not know, I'm afraid.
Is there any way of insuring yourself against that so that you can help the travel industry and also have something to look forward to? Is there any way of thinking, right, well, I'm going to book this and make sure that if it goes wrong, I can get out of it?
Well, yes, you want to book with, first of all, ideally, a human travel agent who'll be able to guide you through it. Increasingly, companies are offering a degree of flexibility because they understand people want to get have the chance to be flexible. And certainly, if you book a proper package holiday, that is going to give you an awful lot more rights than having a DIY trip. Otherwise, you can just decide, well, I bet there's going to be plenty of empty airline seats and hotel beds, and therefore I'm just going to put off my decision until it's a little bit clearer.
OK. Thanks for joining us. As ever, travel expert Simon Calder, Dr. Sarah Jarvis as well. Thank you very much.